Welcome to the first ever episode of Ask the Candidates. This is going to be a special series that highlights the candidates running for election for the Society of American Archivists. My name is Stacie Williams, and I'm the chair of the 2018 Nominating Committee. For the 2018 SAA election, we asked SAA members to submit their questions for this year's Vice President, President-elect candidates. The nominating committee reviewed and selected a few of those questions to pose to the candidates, and I'm with Pam Hackbart-Dean now to ask the candidate. Pam?
Hi. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Pam Hackbart-Dean. I'm the director of the Special Collections Research Center at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, and I'm running for Vice President, President-elect, of SAA. Thank you so much for having me, Stacie.
Well, thank you for joining me, Pam. I really appreciate it. So let's get started with the first question. In your past service in SAA, how have you fostered collaboration? And this could be examples of this could be, perhaps between appointed groups or sections, or within those groups, or in any other leadership positions.
Great. Well, I feel that one of my qualities is I'm good at making connections with one-on-one individuals and helping individuals kind of connect with each other so that they can make things happen, whether it's individuals that have ideas and together can create something very unique and important to the profession, have similar interests, and I feel as a president, I would be doing that on a big level. So an example of that, back in 2004, we had the challenge of the USA Patriot Act. And as chair of the manuscript section, we had invited Karen Benedict and Gregor Trinkus Randall to come and talk to the manuscript repository section about the Patriot Act. And after the lively discussion, I decided that we needed to work together to come up with a position statement for the society. And we worked alongside with Reference Access and Outreach, as well as Privacy and Confidentiality Roundtable, to craft a statement for Council for their consideration. And ultimately, they passed this as a policy statement for the society. And so I think it was a great way of bringing sections together to combat an issue that affected all of us as archivists. And probably another example would be working in the preservation section. We used to do a descriptive bibliography of all current articles. This was before, Google was very big in the mid-90s, and coming up with the most current books, articles that had to relate to different preservation activities. And so this was a way of getting those interested in serving in preservation section to be able to work on a collaborative project together that was a great resource not only for those in preservation but for members of SAA. And if we couldn't find experts in the fields, whether it was electronic records or disaster planning or paper preservation, we would even sometimes go out of our section or out of SAA and work with those who were active in the field and get their expertise to help us build this bibliography.
Thank you so much for that answer, Pam. Now, next question. How will you support the value of the professional archivist and ensure the survival of the historical record in this era of community archives and extremely engaged memory workers?
That's really a tough question. I think it's important that we are all at the table, whether it's the community archives with the extremely engaged non-professionals, as well as archivists that may have institutional support to help. but what the discussion really needs is how can we help each other. We want to make sure that the records are around beyond just our current generation, that they'll be around for centuries more, and we need to discuss how we can make that happen. Of course, archives have usually more of a formal infrastructure with professionals and support to, especially like physical building support. And we all have in common that we want to make sure that these physical collections will be around, but we want to make sure that our relationship with the community archives is balanced. And we need to, as archivists, be open to flexibility and change so that we aren't as tied into the rules that we have always had over the past century or less of when collections come in, they can't be moved out. But we want to make sure that we also have all those that are in our community feel welcomed, whether they are using the archives at the community level or in our own repositories. And we all want to make sure that we have a stake in making sure that these historical records, the community has a stake, and I think just a lot of open dialogue and building trust among both and strong discussion. And I think being able to just being flexible and being able to speak and will help us build these bridges and ensure that the historical record is here for many centuries and generations to come.
Thank you. So I think that it's really important that we try to educate history-minded young people on the professional opportunities that are available in archives. How will you work to improve the visibility of the profession in secondary schools or university undergraduate programs?
I believe it's important for us to inspire students to want to take on our legacy. We need to think about what, as professionals, what made us interested in becoming archivists in the first place. We want to really kind of think about when you're in 7th and 8th grade, that is a lot of time when you decide what you want to be when you grow up. So we need to be working beyond word of mouth with the guidance counselors, with curriculum in middle school and high school to kind of shape what opportunities are available to the future generations that will be taking over after us. And besides working with the counselors and History Day, where you get the experience of actually working with history projects, I think it's important for us to kind of develop internships for high school and college level students to kind of get an idea of what we do and get them excited. And so we want to be thoughtful in our internships for our future archivists. And we also need to be clear for our future generations why archives are so important. And we need to make it what is important to our students today. Information is power, and what would happen, and taking it down to the high school and college level, what would happen if everything went off your cell phone today and there was no cloud backup? So all your photographs and all your emails, what would happen if all that disappeared? And this would be a way of kind of getting them involved in the discussion of the technological work that goes into being an archivist today and preservation of our digital records and beyond just the paper records with that. So I think we just need to be more actively involved, do some marketing, work with those in education, and kind of take it to the streets and make our students know what an exciting and vibrant profession we have and what opportunities are available to them, not only now but in the future.
So SAA has faced many challenges with the location of its annual meeting due to circumstances beyond their control after contracts have been signed. There have been labor disputes and political actions that have caused SAA members to discuss the viability of certain locations. Knowing that canceling a contract would have long-ranging financial repercussions on the organization and its ability to continue all of its programming, how might you lead a council discussion when there's pressure from members to stand in solidarity on an issue related to the values and ethics of SAA?
I think with our organization that we want to make sure with any of our meetings that, of course, we want to avoid any and all conflicts of interest and have negotiated all agreements in good faith. But with council, I think the discussion is valuing diversity and making sure that we're creating a meeting that creates an inclusive atmosphere for everyone. And so I think the discussion has to be how can we ensure that we are valuing diversity and striving to protect it and reflect it by providing an inclusive atmosphere. I think we also need to, as a profession, make sure that when we are looking at places in the future, we might want to look at smaller markets, mostly because we might actually have a little bit more leverage to exact a change because our business would have more of an impact on them than, say, the larger markets like Orlando or LA. It's a tough call, but I think ultimately we want to do what's best for the society and for our membership and make sure that all voices are heard and that council is reaching out and having the discussion with our members and make sure that they understand being transparent, meaning our members understand how the discussion is going and what are the items that have to be discussed and reflected in the decision. So everyone may not necessarily agree with the final decision, but you're clear that your voices have been heard. Council members are reflecting membership and that we're doing the best overall for the good of the society.
Okay, well that is all of our questions. Pam, thank you so much for taking the time to answer in our very first Ask the Candidates feature.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to discuss my ideas.
No problem. SAA members and listeners, ballots are open now. Please visit the SAA website to learn more about the candidates and cast your vote by Friday, April 6th. Links to SAA election information, including our Ask the Candidates interview with Michelle Light, are available in the description below. Vote now. Thank you.